you have to just get used to being aired. Like that's just the honest truth. Like, if you want to do anything freelance, like if you want to be fair, just in life in general, like you're just gonna get aired. Like, you're gonna apply for things. Like, people aren't gonna reply.
Yeah.
But you have to. You can't take things personally.
Welcome to Service Charge, the show that gives you food for thought and a taste of success. The show where I, Xaymaca, have lunch with entrepreneurs, creatives, and movers and shakers. I find out about their entry into their industries, their day-to-day challenges, and ultimately whether it's all worth it. In this episode, I'll be joined by Ezra Olaoya. Ezra is a self-proclaimed storyteller who's written articles for publications such as Complex UK, Daily Paper, and Trench Mag as a freelance journalist. Today he met me at the University of Warwick to discuss his first ever article, teach me how to pitch to magazines, and play our very own service charge game.
Hi Ezra.
How you doing?
Thanks. I'm good, thank you. Thanks for being on the first episode of Service Charge. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. Exams finished. Summer started.
Thank God.
Yeah, exactly.
I saw recently you had quite a busy weekend, so you went to Recess Land.
Yeah.
So they were giving out free Cortez t-shirts.
Yeah.
Did you manage to get one?
Yeah, I did manage to. It was actually funny. Yeah, I was very lucky. We went to, the merch line in the main center bit was long from by the time we got there. They shut it down because but they said there wasn't anything left.
Yeah.
Then later on we went to like another part of the venue, and then like Clint carried it and the guy just came in. I was like, oh. So I managed to grab one. So yeah, it was cool. Nice bit of history.
Yeah, no, definitely. I saw you tweeted as well about the full circle moment. In terms of Clint actually working with Recess before, and then now they're doing like free t-shirts.
Yeah.
And for me, I feel like this is a full circle moment.
Yeah.
Because I actually found out about you through your Trench magazine article about Cortez.
Yeah.
So if anyone who doesn't know, can you just break that down, and how did the gig come about?
Yeah, that's a funny story, because I think for me that was really my first venture into like journalism as a like viable kind of, not career path, but like a hustle that I could have. Basically, I'd been meaning to write about Cortez for ages, because just like I was just fascinated by them, like because more than the clothing brands, they're more like a movement, more than like a phenomenon that's going on. And like when I was in school in Edinburgh, like people were talking about it then, and I've seen how it was capturing people's imaginations, and I was like, I had to talk about it. And then, long story short, it got to 2022. So last year, there were these Twitter spaces called Alt Twitter Spaces, and they had a Discord, it's like a community. I remember like someone speaking on one of their spaces, and they're making a lot of sense. And I reached out to them, and it turned out they went to Warwick. Wow. And like I was asking like for advice about getting into like writing and stuff, because I knew I wanted to write. I started my blog at this point. Yeah. And then so we just spoke then, and a few weeks later, they sent me like a call out from Trench Mag that they're looking for a piece of British culture. And I saw it, and I was like, let me pitch this. So actually, I'll just give a shout out to Danielle. She's always really supportive. So she sent me that call out. I pitched it. Thankfully, it got picked up. Because it was an idea I already had. It wasn't like I had to think of something when I saw the call out. It's like I knew what I was going to write about. So it got picked up, thankfully, by Trench, and that was like my first article. I was very lucky. It was my first article I pitched, which it was also taken on. But then it looks like it just happened, but like I'd done a writing program before, and we'd done like a session about how to pitch to magazines, and this is before I even thought about doing it. So I literally just like opened up my notes on how to write a pitch, pitched it, and then it got picked up.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I just want to say firstly, like, feel free to dig in as well. Like, just say everything in the room.
What you got cooking?
So we've got Rasta pasta, although no Rasta has ever had this pasta because there's shrimp and everything. But it's basically like shrimp Alfredo with jerk seasoning. You were saying that you did a writing course as well, but I think generally, like, how did you kind of build up your writing ability?
I think I've always enjoyed. It sounds like a cliche, but I've really always enjoyed writing. Like I remember when I was like in school, there'd be like Christmas holidays, and I'd be writing stories. Like I bring them. I'm a nerd, so I bring them into my teacher. Like, oh, what do you think about this? So that was when I was quite young. Then, like growing up, like anything I'm interested in, I wanted to write about. So I used to love Copper 90, Like I remember writing articles and sending it in to them. So like I'm just saying this so that I've been practicing for ages.
Yeah.
And then I used to write for my school newspaper as well. So like just doing all of this, and I remember when I wrote an article for Copper90 and sent it in, they said like they didn't accept it, but they were like the feedback they gave us to make sure I like find my voice, basically make the writing sound like me. That's something that always stuck with me, because now like when people read my work, like the biggest compliment, one of my favorite compliments is that it sounds like you, or I can tell that you wrote it. I think that's really important. So yeah, just literally just you get better by doing it. And like for me, I put in like reps. Like I remember, like lockdown, I was like writing a lot. I had a lot on my mind. I was spending a lot of time writing, and then like even before I started my blog, I was helping people on a project. Like I had friends who have clothing brands. I was helping them write stuff for that. Some people who were doing like podcasts and stuff. I was helping them write stuff, articles for the podcast, just any copywriting I could do, and then just getting the reps in. And I think different types of writing helps, but ultimately finding your voice, because like once you know how to write like you, because anyone can write, like everyone, most people go to school, most people know how to like construct a sentence, but if you can write in a way that's like grabs people and makes them want to like gravitate towards it, I think that's like that's the best thing you can do. So I think it just comes with practice and like finding your style, finding what you want to write about as well. So I think that's what I'd say.
Speaking of that Copper90 video, I feel like it was so funny and like so cute. Like we had a conversation about like the idea of delusion, like as 14-year-old you thinking like I'm gonna work for Copper90, the football YouTube channel, and I've actually got something for you just to like commemorate that.
Oh yes! Oh what a guy! Thank you.
To be fair, like it's a bit flat right now.
Thank you. That's
but I know like in the video you also had you started doing keepy ups.
Yeah, bro. I was practicing my around the world for all that summer, bro. That was my summer project. Like that Copper90 video was my summer project.
Yeah.
That was even different. That's just how much I wanted to work with Copper90, because I used to send them articles, but that was because they had this thing like called In Search Of. So they're like looking for new like presenters and stuff.
Yeah.
So, like, okay, I'm gonna do one. Go to all the like League of Ireland games. Yeah. Like be able to like show all the fans and everything. Then eventually they'll let me travel. Oh, wow. So that's what I thought. But yeah, I remember that my brother, shout out Daniel, he filmed that whole thing. I lost the video now because I was like really I grew up a little bit and started getting self-conscious and deleted it. But no, that was really fun. Like we filmed that, edited it. I just like again, as you said, it's just like that kind of childlike delusion where you think like I'm gonna be working for Copper90.
Yeah.
Like even though like who says it doesn't make sense, but at the same time, like what are the odds that they'll actually allow that? But that was funny. Thank you for the football. I need to play football. It's been the 80s.
To be fair, it's like a size 3, so like it's a bit of throwback.
That's calm.
So we're gonna do like a little scenario, like a little like role play.
Okay, cool.
So you're gonna pretend that I own a magazine, so I'm the editor. So this magazine's called Service Charge Magazines. We write about music, film, TV, and you want to pitch an article. I guess maybe similar to what you learned at Trench. Like, how would you set out a pitch to a magazine if you're pitching cold, that you don't know the person?
Okay, I have like a thing, like a document that gives more information on it. So I could possibly like share that with you, and then just because I'm gonna miss something probably. Yeah. But yeah, the way I'd go about it is like you send the email. Well, it depends whether they've done a call out or not. Because if they've done a call out, then you could just like use that as a subject. Yeah. But like I want to keep in the subject of the email like the topic you want to cover, and be like, let's say service charge service charge YouTube show, like article pitch, and then introduce yourself, introduce the story. Not like don't write the whole thing up. What you're going to talk about, and then why it's important that the story is told, and then like why you would be like a good person to tell that story. So I think those are the most important things. So like they might not know what you're talking about. They might not. Like obviously the editor at Trench would have probably known about Cortez. Yeah. But like I'd have to say, or just be like, Cortez is XYZ, and this is why it should be covered, and this is why I'm a good person to cover it. They might ask for some of your work as well. So if you have like a link tree or like any kind of way to show that you've got a kind of portfolio, that's not like completely necessary, because obviously it might be your first time, but it's always good for them to kind of have a reference to see. And to be honest, that reference could even just be like a medium post. It doesn't have to be other magazines. So yeah, so basically just like a very like clear subject for the email, and then also like what you're going to write about, why it needs to be written about, and why you're a good fit for it, basically.
Okay.
I think those are the key things to include. And if I've missed anything, I'll let you know, so you can, in case anyone's looking.
So obviously in this whole scenario, we've kind of spoken about the times where everything's going well, in terms of people are accepting your pictures and you actually write it and it gets published. But how do you deal with rejection? I'm sure there've been times when like the editor's like, oh no, we just did an article like this, or they just don't reply. So how do you deal with that?
You have to just get used to being aired. Like, that's just the honest truth. Like, if you want to do anything freelance, like if you want to be fair, just in life in general, like you're just gonna get aired. Like you're gonna apply for things, like people aren't gonna reply.
Yeah.
But you can't take things personally. That's the most important. You can't like take these things as like an indication of your value or like how good you are, because a lot of it is luck. Like if you're emailing a human being at the end of the day, like they might have a busy day, they might have missed your email. Like even me, like as a student, and you write on the side, I get a lot of emails in one day. Like imagine if you're an editor for a magazine, imagine how many emails they get. So if they miss yours or decide not to reply to it, like it's really not something you should take too personal. I think you just have to, be fair, I'm lucky that the first one I did was managed to get picked up, which kind of might change my outlook. So it might be a bit hypocritical me saying just like keep going. But in general, like I've had lots of ideas that just haven't like materialized when I wanted to, because people didn't get back to me. But you just have to keep going. And at the end of the day, for me as well, it's like if no one else wants to take up your idea, do it yourself. Yeah. So like if I pitch something and it doesn't get taken by a magazine, like the only reason I'd want to be in a magazine in the first place is, well, to be honest, money. Get your name out there, and also get your name out there, and also just like it's a nice kind of thing to add to your CV. But like there's no problem writing something on your Medium. Like if it's a good piece of work, it's a good piece of work. It doesn't matter where it lives. So yeah, just I'd say, don't take things personally, have that resilience, and if you're not getting the platform you want outside, just create your own platform. I think that's what the internet's good. Like for example, this show you have here, back in the day you'd have to go to ITV or Channel 4 or something to commission it. Now you can get your equipment, do it yourself type thing, and who knows, like someone might want to take it on. So I think just go have that resilience and self-belief. Like if you know what you're doing and you believe in yourself enough, like it sounds so corny and cliche, but it's true. It's true.
We pause this broadcast for an advert about our sponsor.
You're Lindsay, right? I'm Charlie. I solve problems. I mean, I know people who can solve problems. Is that your food? You mind if I? So Lindsay, I hear you're a student. Is that correct? How are you finding accommodation next year? Is it difficult? Do you wish the process could just be made a bit easier? Well, my friends at Handles Property, they can help you out. So Handles Property is an estate agent with properties in Warwick, Leamington Spa and Kenilworth, and they're used to dealing with students like you. All you need to do is visit their website, handlesproperty.co.uk, or you can give them a call. That's at 0192 6354 400. They'll handle it.
Now back to the regularly scheduled program.
What do you say the advantages and disadvantages of going freelance are?
Okay, I'll start with advantages. So advantages is like you're not like bound to one publication. So you get to like write to different publications, which also might mean that different audiences get to see your work.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. As well as that, it's like you just get to be a bit like you get to choose your own workload. Whereas if you're writing for like a company, like they might be telling you have to write this, you have to write that. Or like for example, like I might pitch, I want to write this story for Complex, I want to write this story for Face magazine, and I think that's quite cool. You kind of got a bit more autonomy. The disadvantages is just it's just kind of not unreliability, but like it's inconsistent. So like you might have periods of heavy work, versus periods of like downtime, and that obviously comes with like pay. So you might have periods where you're getting a lot of money in, and periods when it's not. So you have to be really diligent. I had to plan a lot. So I guess it's like different seasons. Like for example, freelancing worked well for me while I was at uni.
Yeah.
Because like it meant that I was able to kind of keep myself afloat a little bit. But like when I move, like when I graduate, like I wouldn't really be able to survive just on freelancing. So it's like different points in time. It might work for you, it might not.
So before we get out of here, I've got like a little game that we can do.
Okay.
So like over your time, you've done like quite a few interviews.
Okay.
With some of like the best artists in the UK. So I'm gonna read out some of their quotes that they said in an interview with you, and you have to tell me who said.
Who said it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Who said it?
Getting examined. I thought exam season was over, bro.
Let's see how well you remembered.
Okay.
But I mean, you wrote it, so okay. Which one we should go? Okay, the first one. I think we'd love to get to the point where these things are taught in schools.
That's all kind of.
Already, you got it.
Yeah, that's all kind of.
Wow. Okay.
That was a good conversation. I remember.
Just expand.
So that was a mad moment for me because, again, I'll give you another example of things that just it's crazy. So I don't know. Basically, I met someone who spoke on the album, Atian.
Oh, wow.
I met him like I'm trying to remember when, probably like just before, like the year before the album came out, and then actually before that, sorry, I met Lord Kana at Coventry City of Culture thing, like he did. Like this was like at the start of my second year, so that's like late 2021, and because John Agard and Grace, what's her surname? I can't remember her name. It's Grace Nichols, I think, were performing, and obviously John Agard ended up on the album, and I spoke to Lord Kana there, and it turns out Lord Kana went to the event in Coventry because he was trying to connect with John Agard.
Wow.
Yeah, but so I spoke to him there. I took a picture with him, and I remember him saying like, oh, he's working on a project. And he was like just saying how he just had a child and everything. So that's what the delay was. And so that happened like ages ago. So I must have met Atian, who was on that project after that.
Yeah.
And then we like bumped into each other a couple of times. And then he mentioned, oh yeah, I can put you in contact with Lord Kana's team. And I was like, sometimes people say things and I'm just like, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
but then he ended up like actually doing it.
Wow.
So like I got in contact with his team and then we sorted out the interview. And for me, another thing that's mad is because Lord Kana, I found out about him in school when he performed in Edinburgh, and then people put me on, and like I was like, that's crazy. Like he's just like in a lane of his own, and I really enjoyed his music. So the fact that I was able to have a conversation with him after like seeing him at the City of Culture, like the whole school link, and then Atian like linking us together, which he didn't have to.
Yeah.
It was just very mad. Then the actual conversation was very very insightful. He's a really thoughtful guy, and it made me think and reflect a lot. Like obviously the album Hugo is a lot about his like forgiveness and relationship with his dad, and he made me think a lot about like my relationship with my dad and just like the way I view things. And yeah, like that was a really we went over time a little bit. Like it was a really thought-provoking conversation. I think it was my first like artist interview. I think.
Wow.
So like it was a proper memorable one. So yeah, that's why I was able to answer that so quickly because I proper remember what he said.
Well, thank you for being a part of the service charge community. Thanks for coming on the first episode. I
appreciate it, man. Thanks for the
enjoyed
interview.
it.
It was a good conversation.
Thank
Lovely
you.
food as well. Thank you very much. Shout out to you. Appreciate it, bro. Thank you.
I spoke to Ezra, no Ezra Collective. It was good to get Ezra's perspective. And you'd already get this if you know who my guest is. See, this is the book of Ezra. I read a book by Ezra. He brings people together. And you know that the source is forever. But none of it's luck. Write one piece then double up. One piece like Luffy. As a freelancer you can be choosy, but it can be inconsistent. Will you go that distance? Stay persistent, consistent, resilient. Do that, you can make a difference.
Bro, my Zoom wasn't even working. I was nervous. My Zoom stopped working. Like, yeah, I was nervous, but he's a really good guy to talk to.